Center and the Baylor School of Music. We are so glad that you're here to be part of the Spring 2026 Hearn Innovators in Christian Music Series. Yes! Excited. The Hearn Series is made possible by a generous gift from Billy Ray Hearn. Mr. Hearn was a 1954 graduate of church music here at Baylor and a pioneer in the industry for Christian music. Through his work with Myrrh Records and his founding of Sparrow Records, and then the creation of the, let's see if I get this correct, the what is now Capital Christian Music Group, which was EMI Christian Music Group. Yes, so we are grateful for the legacy that Mr. Hearn has left for us and his contributions to Baylor University for this endowment. So I want to just briefly welcome Professor Bob Darden, who is Professor Emeritus of Journalism from Baylor University. He's going to give an introduction to our guest, and we are grateful for his presence here this afternoon. So let's welcome him.
Okay, before I start, I want to make sure you know about right outside this door, the Black Gospel Music Preservation Program and Black Gospel Archive, which I co-founded with the extraordinary people in the Baylor Libraries in the back row. Now with Stephen Newby as the ambassador, has some really cool swag back there, so don't miss it on your way back out as one of the partners that will put this whole thing together. Now, I grew up with gospel music, and this is why this is a big deal tonight. I know from personal experience. If you know anything about gospel music, you know the name of Kevin Bond. In his 40 years in the industry, he's been honored with 10 Grammy Awards. Let me say that again. 10 Grammy Awards for all his. As a composer, as a pianist, as an arranger, and a producer, he has shaped the music and the career of everybody from Edwin and Walter Hawkins to Kirk Franklin, Donnie McClurkin, and Yolanda Adams, and so many more, in addition to his own extraordinary music. And he is one of the architects of the best-selling gospel series of all time, the Love Alive series. There's more, of course. But if you've heard Kevin Bond play the piano, well, then you do. Kevin Bond communicates more with the keys than just about anybody I know. In an industry full of virtuosos and divas, Kevin Bond is an extraordinary communicator, a storyteller, and an empathic link between the music and the artist and their shared audience. I've been privileged to watch and listen to Kevin up close. The joy that suffuses his whole body when he plays is contagious. It certainly affects the other musicians, and they deliver career-defining performances when they work with him. Kevin Bond, thank you. Thank you for allowing the Christ light to shine through you, every note you play, every song you sing. Kevin Bond.
Wow. I was sitting there wondering exactly who he was talking about for a moment there. I am delighted to be here, and I've been on campus all day in various rooms with the various students and instructors, to the School of Music, to Jason, to Bob, to Stephen, to everyone that made this event happen and allowed us to be here with you. I am eternally grateful to be able to stand before you just to talk a little bit about this journey. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. None of us get here on our own. It's a team effort. As I listened to Bob, even in his introduction, he was talking about Billy Ray Hearn, and I started thinking back. My boss, when I was at Gospel Century, Vicki Mack, worked for him in some of his days, I want to say in Sparrow Records. Then he mentioned EMI Gospel or EMI Christian. And then the EMI Gospel was an outspurt of that. We ended up working with the EMI Gospel as well. So it's a very tight-knit community and how we all work together and how we all communicate together, and ultimately we all cross each other's paths. And I felt like I've known Bob forever because he was a Billboard writer for many years as well. So it's been a journey. It's been an incredible journey. But this evening, I want to take a moment and just talk a little bit about what I call the 7 stages of development. And when someone like myself and other creatives will talk about this whole Innovative Series, if you will, when we start our journey, we don't start with the thought process of, I want to win a Grammy Award, I want to win a Stellar Award, I want to win a Dove Award. You start with what I call passion. Passion is what drives you toward your goal. Passion is what drives you toward the finish line. It's that thing in you, it's that innate spirit within you that's pushing you somewhere. And as a young man in the city of Chicago, my father had a vision that he was going to pastor, and he said, I'm going to need a musician. And I was like, okay, I wonder who that musician's going to be, because I didn't play any instrument at that particular time. But somewhere around age 7, he found us an instructor that was not the right instructor. I could have got discouraged, and we continued to push on, and then at age 11, or age 10 or 11, he found the right instructor that gave us that start. And that start was that first stage, if you will, of this development that we want to share with you. Grew up in a household with much music. There was much music. Dad was a 25-year church choir director, so he had the gospel music going. Mom was, we all were in church, but there was a plethora of music playing in the house. Mom was listening to Motown and Isaac Hayes and the Spinners and the Four Tops and the Temptations. But then my sisters were listening to the Jackson 5 and the Silverbirds and all the Earth, Wind, and Fire and all of this other music. And what I didn't realize was that all of that music was literally shaping me into who I am, who I've become as a producer, because it was all coming inside of me through my ear portals, and it was a part of, once again, this first stage of development that I'm going to share, which is inspiration. Say inspiration. Inspiration. When we start our journey, whatever that journey is, because we're here in School of Music, we're going to talk about this musical journey. The first thing about this particular stage of development is you're inspired by somebody else. You don't necessarily have the answers. You don't have the rubric of how to get there. It's a source of inspiration. What is it that sparks the inspiration within you to try to get you to where it is? Is it a record you've heard? Is it a performance that you've seen? Now, Bob, Stephen, and I, we grew up in a different era. We didn't have a YouTube. We didn't have hours and hours of videos that we could scroll through and find our favorite artists. We didn't have what's called now, what is this? The internet did not exist. So when we saw an artist, we usually saw them on television, we saw them in a record store, we saw them in an in-store visit when they would stop by town, and if we had the money, we might go to a concert. So the inspiration had to happen in a different way. Now you have so much at your disposal, so many means to be inspired, that you can take all of this inspiration and run with it as far as you want to. And if you're not inspired, AI can help inspire you. That's a whole other conversation in and of itself, and I'm not going to disparage it because you're going to need it. AI needs you to feed it the information to even succeed. So even in that, that's another form of inspiration, because it can help you at least get off the starting blocks. But inspiration happens by someone else. It is an impetus. It is a seed that moves us from place to place. Now, once you're inspired, it doesn't stop there, because you still have to get the work done. You have to be able to move from inspiration to step 2. Just hearing the music for me was not enough. The passion was now driving me to move, to be active, to go to the next stage, which was now imitation. Imitation. Everybody that has been inspired to do something, you really don't have the rubric, you don't have the plan. So what do? You find somebody that's doing it. You shadow them, you model them, you imitate them. And that works for a while, but it doesn't work for a long while. Because as long as that person is alive, everybody knows that you're copying. You have not come up with anything creative. And you have to go through the remaining steps to get to the point of creation. But imitation is great to get us off the starting blocks now. Now I'm in the game. I was able to listen to the likes of Edwin Hawkins and Andre Crouch and James Cleveland, Richard Smallwood, and Thomas Whitfield, and even some of the R&B and jazz greats, to be able to hone my craft and listen. Not realizing, once again, that that plethora of music that was coming into my mind was shaping me into the producer that I would become. Because I would need to know what the Tower of Power horns were doing on an Earth, Wind soundtrack to be able to produce horns. I would have to know what David Foster was doing with a string section to understand how strings move. So what I started doing was imitating what David Foster was doing, imitating what Maurice White was doing. And many of you, even in your stage, you're here, this is the training ground, this is the breeding ground. You've been inspired, you're seeing other people. Now you're in the imitation stage, but you gotta move quickly from that stage to the next stage. That stage becomes intimation. Say intimation. Intimation. Inspiration is by another. Imitation is by somebody else, but intimation is when you start to get an idea of what's really inside of you. Do you see the possibility? Do you understand the possibility of what you can now become? When you look through the annals of history here, even at Baylor, and realize that other greats have come through this very campus. They've sat in seats that you now sit in. They've held positions that you now hold. They've had some of the same instructors. They're walking the same campus. Now the intimation has to happen so that you can now get that clue to understand what you could be. As I began listening to this other music and listening to Ed and Walt and putting the quarter on the turntable so I can make my out-of-tune piano in tune with the track. This was before there was a transposed key. Any cheaters in the room, huh? Before there was all of this, I had a spinning upright in my dad's home. And that was the piano that I literally learned on. And what I did was, my sister one year bought me, she passed on, God rest her soul, she bought me a piano lamp, and I would turn my bedroom light off and put that lamp on, and I was on stage. I was getting a clue. I was in the stage of intimation. Not just inspired, not just imitating. Now I'm in the stage of intimation. I'm getting a clue. I'm seeing myself on stages playing with these people because I felt like my gift could possibly measure up. Was I there yet? No. But I was climbing. And I kept working. I've been telling people on campus all day that you perform how you practice. You perform how you practice. So your practice regimen has to be equally as important to you as your performance. We have this thought process that when I get on stage, when I get that moment, I'm going to turn it on. No, you're going to do exactly what you've been practicing. And if your practice regimen sucked, guess what? Your performance is going to suck. So you have to put the same time and energy into practice. I told a class early this morning, Friday nights was not me hanging out at all. When I didn't have a car, so when Dad came home, the car was at the house, I would let Dad know, hey, I'm going out. And my going out on Friday night was going to sit at other rehearsals with my friends and seeing what they were doing. I wanted to hear how they were moving with their choirs. I wanted to see what they were playing. What were they being inspired by? Who were they possibly imitating before they got to the stage of intimation? Now, once you get to the stage of intimation where you have that light bulb kind of that, you get a clue, if you will, and a hint or indication of who you are. Then you move to the stage of illumination. Say illumination. That's when the light bulb truly goes off. And you really see that, wait a minute, this is a possibility. I can possibly do this. I remember going to a concert at the Erie Crown Theater. Edwin and Andre was there, and Lionel Harris was there. Bill Brunson and his group were there, and I'm sitting in the balcony, and I'm looking over the edge of the balcony, and that light bulb literally went off. And I literally said to myself, I could do this. I could literally do this. And within the next 2 to 3 years, I was literally doing this. But I had to go through those stages. And I had to put the time in that was necessary to get there. Okay? Malcolm Gladwell, in his book, The Outliers, talks about that 10,000 hours. Are you willing to put in the 10,000 hours to become special in your area, to become a hero, a star in your role? When I was playing with the Hawkins, who had been doing all of these records all of these years, Joel Smith, everybody, all the musicians knew the name Joel Smith. Everybody was talking about Joel Smith. When I finally met Joel Smith, my only concern was I don't want to be the weak link in the band. And the only way I could not be the weak link was, once again, my practice had to be equally as important as my performance. The truth of the matter is you're only on stage when you do the concert for maybe 45 minutes. Even your Sunday worship set is no more than 15, 20 minutes. So my question to you is, what are you doing with the other 23 hours and 40 minutes? Am I putting in equal amounts of time with the practice to get to the stage as the excitement that I have when I'm on the stage? In this illumination stage, when the light bulb goes off and you see yourself in it, you see yourself doing it, it should push you and motivate you to become even greater. It should push you and motivate you to even go even harder. Study even more. Look at different genres of music and listen to other genres of music to see what others are doing. If we only limit ourselves to listening to church music, then you're going to have a very limited scope of music when God may be wanting to do something even greater with you. He may be trying to make you one of the next greatest songwriters ever. The next Diane Warren. The next David Foster. The next whomever. So don't limit your scope to just one. While you may focus on gospel music, and my principal focus has been gospel music or CCM, whatever it is that you're doing. The point is, I still listened and did not limit my range to just gospel music. Because I realized that as I was shaping into a producer, I needed other tools in my box. When I went to Nashville and I sat with the Nashville String Machine, who was doing these records for CeCe and Chris Tomlin and all of these other people, I had to be able to have that conversation and speak the language with them. And look at my string arrangement and tell them to make changes here, make changes there. So continue to sharpen your tools, even as the illumination begins to hit. Now, as we move to stage 5, interpretation. Interpretation. Now it's to the point that I am now interpreting what I'm starting to feel. Because as you're learning, you're going to continue to move through those stages, but then it comes to the point that you begin to interpret what's inside of you. Some say that I have a very unique, Bob said it, I have a very unique keyboard style. Other musicians around the world are copying that style. But that's not because I copy other people. It's because I'm now interpreting my own style. I've created a style that somebody now wants to imitate and move to their and through their stages of development. That is the goal. It's like writing a song. You don't want to write a song that everybody else has already written. You want to write an original song. Your gift should be equally original. As you're preparing your gift and as you're building upon your gift, your interpretation of your gift should be so unique that it has your footprint as well as your fingerprint. It has your DNA on it. When people hear you sing, they may not remember the song, but they remember your performance. When they hear you play, they may not remember the song, but they will remember your performance. They will remember your infectiousness and how you made them feel because of your interpretation. Stage 6 is now illustration. Illustration. Let's go back. Inspiration, imitation, intimation, illumination, interpretation. Stage 6 is illustration. Illustration. Now we're at the point of manifesting the gift. I've spent enough time with it. I've spent enough time in the back room at my dad's house on that upright piano that I get a chance to meet somebody like Edwin Hawkins. And I met him in a very obscure, very weird type of way. I told this story earlier where he was there doing a huge convention. And in that convention, I was playing for my father in his revival, and the group that I played for begged me to go that Thursday night. It was Chicago night, and all the Chicago talent was performing. But I promised my dad that I was going to be with him in revival. And Dad allowed me to break my word. He would never, we always talk about if you make a vow, keep the vow. And I'm with that. He would tell me, your word is not your bond, your name is your bond. I said, okay, Dad, I get it. But I told him there's nobody else to play for the group, Dad. So he said, okay, go. I went, and all of my peers were there. Everybody was trying to show what they had and trying to be discovered in that moment. And I saw that. That's why I didn't really want to go that week, because I didn't want that competition. I was in my stage of development, and I was just trying to find my own personal voice. But I went, and we played that Thursday. I remember Walter and Tremaine and the family, and Brunette came and sat on the row in front of me. And when it was our time to play, we walked down this long aisle at the hotel. And before I could get to the organ, Edwin and Richard Smallwood were sitting behind me. I was like, wait a minute, this is pressure. This is pressure. This is not what I signed up for. I thought I was just going to have a little private moment in the corner like at church. But these are the moments. And this is where your practice preps you for your performance. And in that moment, we played a couple of songs. I couldn't tell you today what the songs were. I remember playing the performance, walking off, and I think I spoke to them as I walked up, and they looked at me like, interesting. And I didn't know what that meant. Could be good, could be bad. 2 nights later was the final concert of the convention. 3,000 people packed into Mount Pisgah Church. 3,000 people packed into this church. All of my peers, everybody from the city of Chicago was there. All the talent was there. I got there early because I knew it was going to be packed, and I sat on the 4th row, right around where my friends here are sitting, the Jordans. I sat right around there, and Edwin finished the entire concert, all this original music. It was beautiful, it was grand, it was glorious. But at the end of it, he got up towards the remarks, and he said, I really enjoyed the Chicago night. And of course you would say that. You're in Chicago, you better say that. You better say that. But then he went steps deeper. He's like, all of the groups were really amazing. And then he said, there was this one group, though. Now, my group had a very unique name. And he tried to find the name. He was like, the fluke something, the fluke something. He was just trying to figure it out. And people started shouting out, the Flukers, the Flukers. This was the group's last name. It was a family group, a mother with 2 of her daughters, and the 2 sons used to play the instruments. One of them stopped playing, and I ended up taking the spot on organ. So he finally got the name and said, yes, the Flukers, the Flukers. And I'm thinking he's going to say something great about the group, because they really were great. They reminded me of they were imitating the Clark sisters. They had not found their voice. They were imitating. Did you catch that? We were stuck in stage 2. Imitating somebody else. Okay? He said the group was amazing and such, and then he said, but the organist, and I could have sank through the floor. Because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I only came one day. How did you notice me? What are you saying? He said he had a unique technique. Now I wasn't playing piano, I only played organ. 2 songs, organ and drums, church style, no band. Okay? And he said he had this style, and then I'm thinking he's done, and he said, I think that's him right there. What is going on in my life right now? I was floored, because I realized that my years of work, something was happening now. And you never know when you're going to be discovered. David never knew when the call was going to come to get him to the palace. He just knows that the servants went and found him and brought him before the king. But David was already practicing in the field with the sheep. He was practicing in private before God revealed him in public. It was my story. My church was not in the city of Chicago. My dad's church was 55 miles out in the sticks with a dirt road, with gravel, all of that type of thing. This is my Sunday morning. And I kept thinking, nobody's going to discover me out here. And God said, don't worry about that. I got you. You develop yourself in private and I'll reveal you in public. After that night, I stepped outside and my friend who was hosting that one basically said to me, would you like to meet Edwin? I was like, sure, I'd love to meet him. Had all their records, been practicing to their music for years. They were my mentors, my distance mentors for many years. I met Edwin and shook his hand and he said, you did a great job. And I thought he was kind of just fluffing, you know? And he grabbed my hand tight and he said, sincerely. I said, okay, I get it. A little intimidating, okay, I got it. 2 weeks later, I get a call from that same friend saying, Edwin wants you to call him. I said, Skip, if you're lying to me, I'm going to kill you. I just want you to know right now, I will find you and I will kill you. Sure enough, I picked up the phone and made the phone call. You're thinking somebody like Edwin would have a million secretaries and somebody else answering the calls. He picked up the phone on the first ring, and I said, I'm choking. Hello, Edwin, this is Kevin. Oh, Kevin, how are you? What is going on? And the rest is literally almost like a music history. That started my journey at age 19. And that journey has now continued. I am now 62 years old. And the journey, I know I look good for 62. I get it. I heard that. I felt that groan in the room. I felt that. It's all good. I'm good with that. But that has been my journey and my trajectory. Now, you think I might have forgotten where I was in my study here. I have not. Do you remember the steps? Let's go back. What was step 1? Inspiration. 2. Imitation. 3. Intimation. 4. Illumination. 5. Interpretation. 6. Illustration. When I spent time, met him at age 19, didn't move to California until I was 23. And it was not at the request of Edwin, but his brother Walter, who was a producer and someone I thought that I could shadow. I thought I could learn and glean and grow from. And I took that opportunity. I thought it was the greatest opportunity I could possibly take, and I took it. Now, Walter thought he was going to have this incredible flush and rush of work. And when I got to California, there was no work. But I did not regret it, because I got to follow them to the studio every day. Who can say that they sat with giants and watched them work, watched them write classic songs, watched them put together incredible arrangements and pull choirs and pull small groups together, and literally give me the blueprint for who they've become over those years. That was my journey. And when I left the group, people were asking me, why would you leave a storied situation? And this is something I want to leave with you students as well. You can never show the teachers the totality of your learning while you're in their presence. You have to leave them and become and come back to them and let them see that you got the lesson. You don't have to say that you got the lesson. They will get word that you got the lesson. Walter and Edwin started to hear about this young man that had left them and went on his journey and was garnering Grammy Awards and garnering Stellar Awards and racking up in this area and doing this and doing that. Word will precede you, and the goal is for you to always let your teachers know that you're the student that got the lesson. It's at that point that I realized I had reached stage 7. Stage 7 is innovation. Innovation. Now you're no longer looking for inspiration. You're not at a point where you're imitating others. You found your voice. You're not in a stage of intimation where you're trying to find it. Illumination, interpretation, all the other stages, you're now at the point where you're in innovation, where you're creating. Your hard work is now paying off. Many of you as students are in the ground level or in a part of your journey where you're still working through getting to that innovative stage. I want to encourage you and let you know that it is possible. You're looking at someone who literally pushed through to innovation. Now, my road was a different road than yours. At 18, I started at Chicago State. 17, I started at Chicago State, went for a year and a half, and took a year off. In a year, I made some money, I was working, and I said, I'm gonna take a year off. I'm gonna wait a minute, and went to this job, and God said, I'll shut the job down because that's not your journey. He literally ended the job so that I could have another path, and that path was to meet Edwin and started that journey. I didn't go back to school until I got married in '94 and got my bachelor's. And then I met this gentleman, Stephen Newby, and we had a conversation, and I went and got my master's in my late 50s. And now I'm working on my doctorate in my 60s. I'll be finished with that in December. My journey was different than yours. The journey was different, but the point is, I went through those stages of development to get to where I wanted to get to. And I pressed for it. And I want to encourage you, no matter how you feel right now. Somebody asked me earlier, what does it feel like when you have a roadblock or writer's block? I told them, just find something else to do. Music is everywhere. You can't avoid it, you can't escape it. The problem is we're trying to manufacture something when God is trying to develop something. You can't push it. It's almost like the old Kodak, remember the old Kodak camera tape? You want the picture to be ready, but the picture is still being developed. Writer's block is just that. God is developing something in you. There's sometimes it's experience that we are going through, different experiences. And we're trying to push through the experiences to hurry up to get to the finished product. Find something else to do. I don't really believe there's any such thing as writer's block. Find something to divert, get away from it, spend time with your family, your significant other, go bowling, go to a movie. But guess what? When you go see the movie, what's going to happen? You're going to hear music all throughout the movie. So you can't escape it. But that same moment that you feel was a writer's block turns out to now be inspiration, because you'll hear that music in the movie and say, oh, I got another idea for that. Push past it. Always push to the stage of innovation. It is possible. It is possible. And I want to encourage you. So before I open the floor up, I want to say once again, thank you for this opportunity to be here with you this week. I stand before you as a model of the possibilities of what you can do with your gift. And I would say this as well, I'm on a Christian campus, when you yield it to God. When you yield it to God. I didn't have a plan for it. God basically ordained it to be what it was supposed to be. And I didn't fight him. I trusted him. And guess what? At age 62, I'm yet trusting him. It doesn't stop. Okay? So I want to open the floor. I want to open the floor for questions. Any question? No questions off limits. Yes, ma'am.
It's just popped into my head, so I'm really happy if it's like, this is too crazy, but I would love to see if you could play those 7 stages for us.
The challenge. The challenge. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'll take that. simply. The first stage, honestly, would be or this. That's all you got. That's all you got, because you are inspired to play something. You feel that there's something in you trying to get out. Okay? And then from there, you start now imitating where you hear something and that thing may do something like. That's all I got. That's all I got. I was listening and trying to catch it from somebody else, and that's all I caught. But I'm imitating somebody trying to get to next stages. Now, intimation may be, how can I connect this? And sometimes it's as simple as just moving the chord around. Just simplicity. Because now I'm starting to get a hint of what this thing could be. Now, illumination, there's a light bulb moment where I'm listening to Edwin and play. But then now I want to play it my way. The light bulb is coming on just a little bit. Now, interpretation then says, let's go crazy with it. Pushing it, constantly pushing the limits, not settling for what you heard somebody else do. Now, once you get to the point of illustration, you are basically combining the best of everybody. If we would take Andre Crouch, Andre had a very unique style. He would play something like... illustration. And then once you start getting to the point of innovation, I don't really want to play melodic songs anymore. Now I want to play melodic songs. See? Because you have now come to the point where you're not looking for any of those other avenues. You're reaching inside of yourself. And I talked about a song earlier with my friends, and I said, the song says, do you want to be healed in your body? Do you want to be healed in your soul? Do you want to be healed in your spirit? You can be made whole. For the Lord has declared it's a promise. Every word that He says is true. There's a season and time to His purpose. He said He would do. I'll teach it to you just this quick. He would do innovation. This is your line. You're listening. Be healed. This is your line. You can. You will. Be healed. Let's see if you can learn. Let's go. Be healed. moving from other people's material to now moving into your own self. What is your personal voice? Now notice, my voice is different from, but guess what? All of that is still inside of me because that's the seed that was planted to get me to where I am now. We tend to, and this is scripture, the Bible says, who shall despise the day of small beginnings? Who shall despise the day of small beginnings? I'm not just a musician, I'm also a Bible study teacher, I'm also a preacher. I'm not going to preach, I don't have 3 closings. But who shall despise the day of small beginnings? The worst thing for us is when we have ideas in our head that don't translate to our hands. When we have ideas in our head that don't translate through our voice. Those are the small beginnings. Don't get discouraged. Push. Develop it. Keep working till what you hear in your head is translated through your fingers, translated through your voice. I was around some of the greatest musicians in Chicago, intimidated without measure. When I played around them, I realized you still got more work to do. You're not there yet. Don't get prideful, son. Okay? And honestly, I still feel that now. Because what you do is as you continue to learn, you just start listening to people that are of a higher caliber than you. You continue to challenge yourself. So now I sit and listen to Chick Corea. I'm listening to Herbie Hancock, who graduated with my mom from Hyde Park High School. How about that? I sat next to him at the Grammys one time and leaned over and said, I know you. He said, how do you know me? I said, you graduated with my mom. He said, how do you know this? I said, Hyde Park High School, and I gave the year. He was floored. It just shows you how small the world it is. But the point is, push. Don't be intimidated by your development. Just remember you're in stages of development. Next question.
Thank you, Dr.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious, as someone who's doing this for 50 years, what does practicing look like for you now?
Practice now for me is playing whatever I feel. For years, I've not gotten into, even through the years, I didn't get into the regimen of just playing songs that I had to learn. I've always sat down and, the name of my band is Flow, F-L-O-W, and that means follow the lead of the wind. If you look on the back of several of my records, you see that. And that means that whatever God blows through you, let that come out. We tend to, as musicians, get in our head, and the singers get in our head and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to play this, and most times when we go for that riff, we mess up. We mess up. One of Edwin's most valuable pieces of information was for me, Kevin, don't play so much, because when you play too much, you mess up. He was trying to tell me that you think too hard. So when I practice, I literally just sit down and play whatever literally comes to mind. Richard Smallwood has this piece that I've been kind of Richard has this piece called the Praise Anthem. You know that song? It's called Have you heard that song? Yes. But I twist everything. I twist literally everything. So I start thinking about how I look. Somebody running through the field. That's where my intuition takes me. Running, jumping through the field, chasing. Sing the line again and imagine and see it. Go. Maybe songs, but it's playing it my way and literally worshiping leading God. It's vertical. It's vertical. And I allow him to speak through me, and I'll offer my praise back to him. Next question, yes, sir.
What would you say to a person in this room who considers him or herself to be of modest talent and maybe is comparing always to other people and coming up short? How does that person find a place in the world, and what do we say to that person?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think everybody in this room has felt that at some point in their stages of development. I can definitely say I felt that as well. For me, the main thing that I would say is take exactly what you have and continue to let God breathe upon it. Continue to spend time with it. Continue to practice and develop. I talked about earlier in another class about building your chord library, building your melismas or your riffs, and adding to your toolkit. Never get to a point of complacency, even though it may be taking longer than it seems. You may be making little strides and little steps of success along the journey. You may not see it, but the people around you are seeing it. Continue to go forward. Don't get discouraged. What do they say? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I can honestly say that because I remember those moments when I felt like my plan was not developing anywhere near where it should be. And I felt lesser than. I felt like, what is it going to take? What do I have to do? Do I have to put in more time? And the question was, yeah, I just had to put in more time. Sit around other people that inspire you. That's another thing. What we tend to do is to get insular. We become insular and we sit by ourselves and brood instead of getting around other people. When you play with other musicians, that's inspiration. New ideas come, new ways and means of going about different chord progressions and things like that. And then here's the deal. Once you start getting those moments of inspiration, don't stop there. Go home now and practice what you just learned. I did an exercise in the class earlier today where I had them play a chord and resolve the chord. And they were like, oh, that was great. I was like, no, that wasn't great. Now, modulate the chord, do it again. Now 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 do it again. Don't stop with what I feel like was a great idea. Turn it into an amazing idea. Push yourself beyond. Push yourself beyond. Don't get discouraged. It's definitely what I would say. Do not get discouraged. Take what you have. God will breathe upon what you have. If you only have 5 minutes of practice, God will breathe upon that 5 minutes. But most of us know we have more. We scroll for 5 minutes just waking up in the morning before we get in the shower. If we just take the time that we scroll on our phone and spend time on our instruments, we'll be so much further ahead. I heard a quote years ago that said, "There's no traffic on the extra mile." There's no traffic on the extra mile because not too many people are willing to go the extra mile. So if you are just putting in an extra 30 minutes per day, or extra 15 minutes when everybody else is scrolling for 15 minutes, imagine in a month how much further you'll be per day. Extrapolate that to now 6 months. Extrapolate that now to a year. Extrapolate that now to 10 years. And you'll be much further. What I didn't tell you about my story was many of the people in Chicago, I couldn't get hired by them. They wouldn't call me to do the gigs with them. I'm sure there were many reasons. It's easy to say that people are intimidated, they're jealous and all of that. I didn't think I played that good enough for people to be jealous of, honestly, at that time. I just didn't think it was the way it was supposed to be. God has a plan. And we have to learn to trust his plan. The Bible says many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's God's purposes that prevail. And sometimes the scripture also says that, a man is without honor and is not without honor except in his own home. Which means you will be honored, you just may not be honored at home. And sometimes God has to take you somewhere else to receive that honor and for you to be an example. But yes, I would say continue to develop what you have and offer God what it is that you have and watch him breathe upon it. I've seen it in my own life and I know it to be true.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I see your hand too, young lady.
You mentioned David Foster.
Good to see you again as well.
Huge David Foster fan.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what about his music intrigued you, and how does that, foster music that you created?
Oh my God, there's so many things about David Foster. Most people, when they think David Foster, they think about like the Whitney Houston, "I Will Always Love You," but I go back to the Earth, Wind, Fire stuff that he did. He's actually playing on a lot of that stuff, and he wrote a lot of that stuff. And then I think about the outro stuff that he did. He's playing on this stuff. And then I think about the stuff he did with Celine Dion. It's a plethora of things. I'm listening to the totality of his production. I'm listening to the balance of his production. He's a keyboard player, but in his production, he's thinking about the entirety of the band. He's thinking about the whole performance. He's thinking about how to put the whole song together, what it's going to take to make it happen. He's a master keyboardist, master producer. He, Eric Martin, another name that you should know, Marcus White, another name you should know, and then you can get into, the likes of Keith Thomas was a guy who did the BB and CC stuff that everybody fell in love with. And then he decided to move into management. And he's not even producing anymore. I think he just recently got back into production. But I'm listening to guys who are on a level that I wanted to aspire to be. And I was not there yet, so I had to study their work and imitate them a little bit till I got here. So yeah, that was what it was. Yes, ma'am?
I was just wondering how you discern the opportunities the Lord is calling to when they're
That's a great question, because every opportunity is not a God opportunity. We have a tendency to think as we're building our careers that every opportunity is supposed to be an opportunity I'm supposed to take. Early in my career, I had an audition with Whitney Houston. And I went to that audition. Are you kidding me? I remember spending my own money to fly to LA from Oakland, which wasn't a whole lot. Got a hotel, got a rental car. And I walked into I thought I had an in. You know how you think you got somebody on the inside? I had an in. Somebody told me what the song was they were going to record, rehearse, and everything. So I had everything. met all my idols, and everybody's in the band, Ricky Minor and Kurt Whalum and all of these folks. And I'm like, okay, this is a moment. But I started dreaming the wrong dream. All I saw was how big I could be if I got that gig, and what I was going to be. I saw myself on the cover of Keyboard magazine. This is it. This is it. And I remember getting a phone call. I was actually touring with Stephanie Mills at the time, and her road manager was also working on the Whitney gig. So many connections. My roommate on Stephanie was singing for Whitney Now. It was so many connections. And he called me, and the way he gave me a message, he said, "Hey, Kev, how you doing? Just wanted you to know you didn't get it, but everything is good. Take care." It's like, wow, it goes like that. Now I'm sitting there about to cry and all this kind of stuff, because this was, I thought, my moment. And I realized that God had a greater moment for me. And I can honestly say, and this is a very transparent moment, I don't know if I would have been able to avoid the drugs in the industry. Because when you get in that place, one thing that you don't realize about, when you get in that place and you're that intimate in that circle, you know secrets. And you almost have to indulge to stay. The choice is usually almost taken out of the game. Because if you know that I'm doing it and I'm the artist, you're not going to go tell on me, because I'm going to tell on you. So my question was, if I had gotten that gig, chances are I would have been literally walking with Whitney everywhere. Her personal keyboardist doing every show, cocaine, marijuana, everything just at your disposal. Not that you would do it willingly, but the pressures of the industry. At that age and stage in my career, I don't know if I would have been able to find it because of how the industry operates. And you feel that in order to keep the gig, I have to succumb. So I believe that that's what I call one of the closed doors of God. That God literally said, "Son, you're not ready for that. You can't handle that pressure. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut the door for you. I'm not even going to give you the opportunity to see what it's like. But what I'm going to give you in return is going to be equally as great." That's been my story. That's literally been my story. Something that I thought was a disappointment actually turned out to be an appointment with God. And he elevated me a totally different way in the process. Next question. We good? Okay. Thank you for your time, people. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. And I will be on campus, so if you have any other questions while I'm here till Thursday. I look forward to sharing with you and talking to you. God bless you. Thank you.